Well, hello there. Sony has finally unveiled their much-anticipated PS5 Pro controller, the DualSense Edge. To date, we've only had third-party Pro controllers like scuff controllers and self-modded controllers with kits like this from Extreme Rate. Such a controller is the first Sony in its PlayStation consoles. Typically, there's only ever been one version of controller per console, and some odd revisions on the last band like the PS4 Pro and the DualShock 4 V2. To introduce a standalone line is a huge deal and certainly point to Sony's emerging PC plans and could have another contender for the best PC controller on our hands here. Such a hardware development now at the 2-year point of the PS5 lifespan also fits neatly into what people are expecting of a potential PS5 Pro console too. So exactly what does this new controller do? Well, let's get into it. Number 1, interchangeable stick modules and stick caps. So you can change your DualSense Edge with different stick modules entirely by swapping out the whole analog stick module, and there's more details to come on this, and you can choose different caps for your thumbs too. So the awesome feature is going to solve two prevalent problems in one go, one being that your dodgy analog stick which has deadly stick drift. Now you can buy a new analog stick without having to buy an entirely new controller, although Sony could just make sticks that don't have stick drift in the first place. And 2, you can have different height thumbsticks which will affect your sensitivity. The closer your thumb is to the analog, the more sensitive it has, and the less distance for greater sensitivity, which is going to be great for competitive sweaty avid PvP players. And conversely, the longer thumbstick turns larger movements into smaller movements on screen, which has its own advantages. Number 2, changeable back buttons. So you can program 2 extra back buttons to any other button on the controller, giving you more controls at your disposal for quick actions. I've been using a modded controller with 4 buttons for a few months now, and the advantages are particularly prevalent for PvP as you can no longer have to take your thumbs off the thumbsticks in many in-game situations. Number 3, remappable buttons and controls. So you can remap and customize the buttons on the DualSense Edge to make it truly yours, and also the stick sensitivity and dead zones to your liking. This means you could example map the X button to the circle button, so you can actually do this with the original DualSense. However, to do this within-game within the PlayStation's own settings as shown, whereas the DualSense Edge has the capability to do this within software of the controller rather than on the console itself. Number 4, controller profiles. So you can actually store multiple control schemes on board the DualSense Edge and change between them easily with an onboard function. But not only can you remap controls, but you can create multiple profiles for remote controls and change them whenever you want to on the controller itself at any time for different games. So this is a great if you're a variety gamer, as it allows you to have specific maps for certain games and then switch it to a different control screen without having to remap every single button when you're playing a different game, which is what you would have to do if you were doing it on the PS5 console. Number 5, customizable triggers. So you can alter the amount of actuation needed on L2 and R2 with slider, offering a hairline trigger actions to the regular DualSense levels. So this is another great competitive PvP feature. This decreases the distance you have to pull the trigger before your in-game weapon will fire, which in turn decreases your reaction time, although I expect a hairline trigger will interrupt the adaptive triggers if you use them. So in this situation, you want to disable the adaptive triggers. So on top of all of these new features, the DualSense Edge will also retain all of the original DualSense features like haptic feedback, wireless connectivity, adaptive triggers, gyroscope accelerometers, and the in-controller speaker and mic. The information such as price on release date are as yet unknown. However, we can use the past to predict the future. So the PS5 hardware trailer released in June 11, 2020, and the PS5 came out on November 20, 2020. So it's highly likely that Sony want to release the new controller before Christmas, so I would expect to be released around late October, early November. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to be buying a DualSense Edge, and check out this video about 14 secrets to the original DualSense can do right here, and I will see you there.